On this episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast, I'm talking all things media buying with Nick Swifte from Swifty Media. So have you ever thought about doing TV ads, radio ads, newspaper ads, or putting your message out on mass media? You're probably thinking, nah, this is not for me. My business is too small. Well, stick around and have a listen to Nick to see, well, maybe is this part of your strategy? Should it be part of your strategy, or should you park it as well? So stick around and have a listen to Nick Swifte from Swifty Media. Coming up. And welcome to another episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast. I'm the host for today, Pete Liston, and today I'm talking to Nick Swifte from Swifty Media. G'day, Nick.
G'day, good to be here. How are you?
I'm well, mate. I'm well. I'm looking forward to today because we're going to talk a lot about advertising and lead creation, lead generation. But first of all, before we get into the crunch of it all, whereabouts in this world did you grow up?
I'm kind of from everywhere. Dad was a mining engineer, so I was conceived in Yirrkala in Arnhem Land. Dad was building a bauxite mine, and I was born in Brisbane. Then we grew up all over the Pilbara, wherever the iron ore was, Pannawonica, Tom Price, Parapadu, places like that, and then went to primary school in Dampier, and then high school in Melbourne.
What was it like growing up in the Pilbara out there? Because this has got to be some of the most. Might sound funny to people, but some of the most remote places on the planet from major cities.
It was good. It was the 70s, and you're a kid, and you're living. Well, my first thing I can remember is Dampier. Really, it was a coastal town. So the primary school was adjacent to the beach, and everybody knew everybody. And if you were living in the town, you were employed by Hammersley Iron or one of the associated things. So everybody knew each other, and so there was never any concerns if you were either at school or you were down the beach or you were in the bush, looking at stuff.
Because imagine growing up in these places in the 70s, even though these are still massive mining towns, but there's a lot of mining infrastructure around them now, and they've grown quite dramatically. But were these little towns back then?
Yeah, Dampier was tiny. I don't know, maybe 1,500, 2,000 people. Most of those were the workers. If anybody's seen Red Dog, that's pretty much how it was. If you were married with kids and senior enough, you had a house in the town. Otherwise, you were out near the cinema at the single person's camps, and then you had an iron ore pallet loading facility to one side and a salt loading facility to the other, with the town in the middle.
I love it. And what got you across to Brizzy in the end?
I was born in Brisbane and went to Pilbara, and then Dad, I think my mum was a teacher, and she had worked out that at that stage Victoria had the best high school education system, and Dad by that stage, I think he was senior enough to request where his next job would be, and so he said, well, I want to go to Melbourne, and he already had owned a house in Melbourne since the 60s, so we just moved to Melbourne and went to high school in Melbourne, and he worked on St Kilda Road, and Mum got a job at a school teaching music and other things, and that was it. We were away.
What was the change of that like, going from being outback kid to city kid?
It's extraordinary. I can remember getting off the plane. My brother flew over, and Dad and I drove across the Nullarbor to Adelaide, and then caught up with Mum and my brother in Adelaide, and then flew to Melbourne, and you had to walk across the tarmac in those days. Walking across, and it was hailing, and of course we'd never seen this type of bullshit.
What is this, rain from the
sky?
sky?
No, he said, what is this? And Mum said, sometimes it gets so cold that the rain freezes. And we were like, fuck this place.
I've never experienced below 20 in my life.
Yeah, we were like, what? It's extraordinary.
What is this?
Yeah, and you still, every time I get hailed on now, I just laugh. Just go, yeah, hail.
Mate, that stops.
Why would you live here?
It's funny now, like I got to put my hand up with a self-shame moment, is that I've been to nearly 60 countries around the world. I love to travel, but I have not done WA nearly enough. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say I've only ever been to Perth once for one day. So, mate, as a passionate Australian, I'm letting myself down there.
Nah, she's a big brown land. I think it's more expensive to go to WA than it is to go to Bali, I think, or even Europe and all that.
That literally part of my problem, mate, is that I can get to Manila back for $1,200 on a couple of points, but it cost me $2,000 each, to get to bloody Northwestern back.
Mate, but see again, it's not like the Gold Coast. Like if you go, if you drew a line across from the Goldie to where it hits the West Australian coast, I think you're going to hit like Exmouth or something. Yep. And there's good fishing, but apart from that, there's not a lot. Not a lot there.
I've just got this. I've just hit 50, so I'm starting to look at this craving for the the caravan. 3 months in WA, just poking around.
It's good for that fishing and. Crayfish and scenery, your outback scenery, and there's no crocs until you get a bit further up, but there's no crocs and plenty of rivers to go swimming in and all of that sort of stuff, but there's a lot of nothing. Yeah. There's there's loads of iron ore. It's good for that. Yeah. But you can drive for days and kind of nothing, but it's lovely, it's beautiful, but yeah, there's not a lot there.
I tell you, it's one of the things. In all my world travels, I think as Australians we somehow become a little bit complacent about the wealth that we have as a nation, and just the fact that like whenever you travel into some of the more challenged countries through Asia, and you sort of see significant poverty, people living on the streets, and disabilities with no care and this kind of thing. And we come back to Australia, jump onto our beautiful highways with orderly traffic and schools and hospitals. And a lot of times I think we get complacent around the fact that I don't know what we've done to earn that apart from digging big holes in the ground that put a lot of money into our country to pay for this stuff.
Yep.
So it's a blessing to have been born on this dirt, and the dirt just keeps delivering. And iron ore is one of the things that just keeps pumping this country along.
You wait till people come to terms with the fact that uranium's not so bad, then it'll go off like a belt-fed mortar.
Mate, look, I'm not a mining expert in any way, but apparently I think we've got like a third of the world's uranium sitting here.
We're practically made of it.
Well, mate, the thing is, I know we're on a bit of a tangent here, but I think it's crazy that that we're nuclear free, but we're the ones selling uranium all around the world. I just don't understand the basic hypocrisy of that, of why.
Don't get high on your own supply. They'll figure it out eventually. Every country in the world's doing it. I mean, if you've travelled overseas, particularly Europe, they've been doing it for years, no issues.
And there's a nuclear reactor.
You get your occasional hiccup, like the Fukushima or whatever in Japan, but then most of them, Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, these are all ancient history. So they've come a long way since then. The French have been doing it for decades. The Italians as well, I think, and the British. No issues. It makes waste, but so does coal. It does all these things, and we're practically made of it.
I know. Surely we can just put it in a capsule and send it out to the outer galaxy or something. Anyway, let's not digress any further, mate. One of the things I'm really appreciative of within the veteran community is some of the expertise we get out of our reserve brethren, because we've got people who have significant expertise. They have lifelong careers in whatever field it may be, but they're also serve the nation by putting the uniform with their Army Reserve or Navy Air Force Reserve hats on. Tell us about what made you join the Chocos.
Well, I had, I don't know if it's traditional now, but I had a pretty traditional upbringing in that we were Cubs and then Scouts and then Venturers,
School cadets.
like that.
Yeah.
We didn't have school cadets, but you know, that was more for your Scotch College and Melbourne Grammar.
Yeah.
You know,
They didn't have that at Katoomba High where I went, mate.
no, not a lot of that at DLSL in Melbourne. They so like we grew up. Well, we were in the Pilbara, but then also through that we grew up in outdoors, doing stuff. And then I finished high school in 1987. So I think it was like 1986. We went to a four-wheel drive show, and I didn't know it then, but it was the 4th 19th Prince of Wales Light Horse had a stand there, and they had a APC set up and all of this. And I thought, this looks fucking great. These guys have got tanks, they've got machine guns, they've got all the things. And
classic recruiting. Put up a tent, put an APC there, and away we go.
And they had a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was famous, absolutely famous in the regiment for recruiting. And everybody that said, what are you doing it? You'd say, oh, such and such, and they would just laugh, because he would take your name.
Got another one.
Name, phone number, and date of birth, and then... So when I finished high school, whenever that was, November, December 1987, and literally the next week he rang me, and he rang home. I mean, I was 18 or something, and Dad said there's some bloke from the army on the phone. I'm like, what's going on here? And he's like, yeah, you remember we met at the show? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, come in, and you know, we'll show you around. And of course, the next thing, you're then at a clothing factory somewhere getting issued all your gear, and you're in. And
It would have been a good salesman with that kind of structure.
It's unbelievable. But everybody that you met, they were like, yeah, he took my name at a four-wheel drive show, and now I'm here. I don't even know what happened.
It reminds me of, again, just a little business. One of my business mentors used to always say, fortune's in the follow-up, mate. Fortune's always in the follow-up.
Yeah.
So he's nailed it, absolutely nailed it.
Circle
Took good
back.
Details, get back to you.
Yeah, I don't know what he did for a job in civvy life, but he would have been fantastic at it. Because there was a heap. There was like literally a heap of us. And so then, just out of luck, I happened to join one of the greatest army units, definitely one of the greatest army reserve units, going on one of the greatest army units. It was the Light Horse. You know, they made movies about us, like, you know, the Light Horseman, and everybody knows the Light Horse. Everybody knows Behaviour, everybody knows this, you know, but then you look at the Guidons now, you got battle honours from the Boer War onwards and through Vietnam, and involvement at Long Tan and all of these sorts of things. Right through to current day, peacekeeping overseas, you know, Solomon Islands, Timor, places like this, you know, and then getting involved in the 2009 bushfire recovery.
Yeah.
You know, so you're sitting there watching the news, and then there's your boys up around regional Vic, you know, with the, I think they had Bushmasters or whatever they had then, you know, leaning into that sort of recovery work. I just happened to join this unit, and it was great. And then you would go and do courses with others, and you know, like infantry units, and you'd be like, so you actually boil your water in a tin cup on those wax tablets? And they're like, yeah, how do you do it? So, well, you go to the back of the Delta vehicle, and they have a gas bottle with a ring, and they make it 5 litres at a time.
Oh, dude, I love it. I just want to pick up on a couple of things that you said there. So first of all, you know, Light Horse, iconic Australian, you know, military history. When I went to Gallipoli a couple of years back, it was really poignant to me to sort of think that, you know, that the Light Horse there fought as infantry, left their horses and cracked on. And then after that, they got their horses back and went to Palestine. And a lot of people don't know that 2 lads that were in the Light Horse, they survived Gallipoli. One of them was at the Gap, you know, but he was in the 3rd wave that didn't go across. The other one was fighting at Lone Pine. And these lads, by the time they left Gallipoli and got across to Palestine, they were like, "Hey, we've got this new course going. Does anyone want to learn how to fly?" And these two lads, so yeah, look, we'll do it. We'll jump in. We'll jump in and get this course, and we'll learn how to fly. And those two lads, when they got back to Australia, after they won, military flying cross, Paul McGuinness and what was his name, Hudson Fish, started Qantas. And that's a couple of light horsemen that fought in the infantry that went to Palestine, started Qantas when they got back.
As a cavalry soldier, I could tell you they didn't go and learn how to fly planes through any altruistic way. It was pretty much just another way to get in the fight without having to walk.
Yeah, fair enough.
Didn't have to
but mate, it is iconic. And the other thing that I love that you mentioned before was just the natural pride in your unit, which we all have. I was lucky enough to serve in 3RER as a Ramie lieutenant.
Yeah.
And I have a massive attachment to that sort of battalion history. I even went to Kapyong in Korea just to check out the battalion history and walk the ground there. And you also may not have noticed it, but I did. You said something like us, like the connection that like that we, us, as light horsemen, and I think that is that little essence there of how we as ex-military people. Like I'm out 10 years now, whatever, but just that connection to that part of our life and how important it was to us. I think it's just important to keep touch with that.
Yeah, well, it's part of it, isn't it? You train as a team, you drill as a team. It's just all about teamwork and working together and all of that. And it never leaves you. Like, you can be anywhere at a function or out doing whatever, and you'll just spot it, and you'll go, "Yeah, you're an army guy."
Yeah.
Because it's just how it is. Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone sort of recognises in Western Sydney, you've got what's called the Light Horse Interchange. It's sort of in the Bundies, in the middle, smack bang in the middle of Western Sydney, where two massive freeways meet.
And from memory, they're barracks.
Not far from there at Parramatta. But you've got these red poles that sit up in the middle of the ground, and you've got all of these bits of wire that just hang off the top of the poles. And I believe that representing the emu plumes that come off the hat, and all of these poles are in rows, like it's symbolic.
Lances.
Of lances are rolling through. Mate, anyway, so look, I love this kind of nostalgia, but I don't want to crack on and talk about media buying. Tell us about. Okay, so first of all, recognizing your career and that connection, and what binds us together from our shared history. But let's go into your professional career. You're doing the Light Horse on the side. What did you do to get into this media world?
I was doing army work. I was doing a lot of it because once you get your tickets up, you radio trained, gunnery trained, driver training, crew commander. You can do a lot of work, and they'll. So this was the late 80s and early 90s, and they'd pull you in to go and help other places and do other things and all of this sort of stuff because you knew how to work the equipment. And there wasn't, I think recruitment was at an all-time low back then, but they still had units that needed help. So I was kind of, in a way, just ginning around. I was a bank teller and I worked at a Safeway and settlement. And then I got to about 24, 25, and I thought, I probably should get a proper job. And then someone that I'd met had said, I think you'd be great in advertising because you can think on your feet and you speak well and you'd be good, I think. And I went, all right, well, I'll go do that. And RMIT in Melbourne run the preeminent advertising course in Australia. So I went and did, you can do I think the creative course is a degree, it's 3 or 4 years or something. I went and did the RMIT TAFE course, which is 2 years. And again, just out of luck, like I went to that one because someone said go to that one, and it was in Melbourne, and it was, you know, convenient sort of thing. But then I didn't know it was also the recruitment source for the emerging media buying industry, because and again, like how I ended up at the Lighthorse, I ended up being hired into a company called Mitchell and Partners, which was owned and run by a guy called Harold Mitchell. So I just happened to end up at the best media buying agency go around. Like I had no plan or strategy. I just ended up there, and this was the growing area. So this was 1997. It had started, but it was rapidly growing. Where it used to be that the advertising agencies would have creative, strategy, media buying all in the one shop, all in the one business. But in the mid-70s, Harold, and there was a few others, but mostly Harold, took that media buying role out of the advertising agency and became an independent. So he then could provide specialist, agnostic advice around which media channels to use and what was best and all of that sort of stuff. But it also meant he could then have his own clients, but he could also then do the media buying for the creative agencies who didn't have a media department. So I landed there at 97, and then immediately, what was I working on? Nissan Australia and all the dealerships, but then also Nivea and Smith and Nephew and Beiersdorf and a few other things, you know, and you just hit the ground running, and away you go.
So let's go back to the basics. Media buying, what is it? Well,
you sort of got to start with your media strategy.
Yeah, because this is what I'm thinking, right? If me, veteran business community, I want to promote myself, I want to get the word out there and what I do. Where's the chicken and the egg here between when I'm developing my marketing plan or my brand plan and getting it out there?
It all starts with your target audience, like who you're talking to. So in your case, it's SMEs. So, you know, small to medium. I don't think you wouldn't be chasing your big businesses. You're chasing them for something else. You're chasing them for their contracts into the SMEs. But your membership is SMEs.
Yeah, so this is where, like, you know, classic stakeholder value and matrix to kick off. Like, we're looking at veterans owned businesses to become part of the community, but we're also really, you know, we want big Australia and government to buy off this community. So, but anyway, I digress.
So keep going. You're in your case, the people that, or the people you're looking for are these SME businesses, and where are they? Well, they're on LinkedIn. You know, even though people are like, oh, LinkedIn, there's a bit of discussion about LinkedIn and all of that sort of stuff, but it's where they are. I check in on LinkedIn 2 or 3 times a day, you know, just to see who's up, who's doing who, and who's paying the rent, you know, what's going on. And then where else are they? Probably business, but I don't know, Fin Review, you know, the Australian or business sections of the papers. But then you can go industry specific, like the advertising media industry has got Ad News, Umbrella, BNT, but every industry would have trade journals, which are now websites. So you would advertise on here, right? But then your secondary strategy of reaching big business, that's where it becomes, you know, slightly more expensive, because then you have to get in front of, you know, you sort of decision makers at your big firms, and where are they? They're harder to reach because they're flat out. So you really need something that's going to break through to them, and it's probably not. I mean, advertising wouldn't hurt, but it is a direct approach for them. You need to find the person, the procurement person, or the sales officer, or the contracts or tenders, or whoever's running that at that firm, and pitch a case to them, because it's not a broad target. It's one person.
It's one person to make that decision.
That's right.
Now, the first thing I'm thinking of here, with my, putting on my business hat on, is marketing is always a dark art to me. In terms of understanding the relevance of brand positioning first, and understanding who you are, what you do, why you do it, understanding who the avatars are, or that, the customer personas and who we're looking for. Then ultimately, if I know who I am, what I do, and I know who I'm engaging with, how do I best connect with them people? And paid advertising is not for everybody. Where do you feel, so in terms of your specific expertise in paid advertising, what kind of channels or mediums are you using at the moment?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
So if I sort of think, like television, print, internet, SEM, you're across the whole spectrum?
Yeah, we don't do paid search. When you get into search engine optimization and search engine marketing, paid search, they are kind of like brother and sister. They work together, and it's a really specialized task because you're always on. It's like the internet. They used to say money never sleeps, so the internet never sleeps. So you've got to be
all the time.
In there all the time. And in fact, I worked for a bloke called Vaughan O'Connor at Rapid Media during COVID, and because it's always on, he actually had the opportunity. One of his staff members was leaving, and they were from, I want to say Lithuania somewhere, but they were going back there, and it just so happens that 9 a.m. in Lithuania was 5 p.m. On the eastern seaboard of Australia. So he, instead of letting this guy go, he said, well, you can still work for me, but you're going to work over there. And Laurie, his name was, top fella. And so every day at 5 p.m. our time, which is 9 a.m. their time, whoever had been doing what they call the performance media, your sort of search and social stuff, would hand over to Laurie. So they'd be sitting there with a coffee, and the people in Australia would be sitting there with a glass of wine, and they'd hand over, then they would knock off, and Laurie would instantly just pick it up where they left off. So if there was any issues, I mean, we've all seen things go viral for the wrong reasons. So if an issue occurred with anything overnight, you didn't have to wake someone up at 2 a.m. to say, oh, look, you've got a problem. Laurie and his team were on it. And then same thing, at 5 p.m. their time was 9 a.m. Eastern Seaboard, and they would hand it back over. It might take 10, 15 minutes. But that's the kind of thing that you need, particularly now with social media. I mean, it was when I was at Rapid Media, we were doing Dunlop tyres, Goodyear Dunlop, and all that sort of stuff. And Trump was president for the first time, and he had a go at Dunlop in the US for not making tyres in the US or something. So then a bunch of Australians took it upon themselves to start pounding the Goodyear Dunlop tyre scene in Australia. And it lit up. And there's nothing, I wasn't involved in it, but other people had to get involved. And that whole delete, block, counter, respond thing.
Someone's full-time job there.
Yeah, it was a full-time job. But that's the first time I've been kind of involved in it. But I've seen it go when I was at Mitchell's and Dentsu and places like that, and you're just like, wow. When people pile in, and then it becomes, when they talk about how a bushfire gets its own weather system. Someone feeds in and they go, and then you've got 2 people, and then 4, and then 16, and then you've got these people, and you'll try and respond, and they're like, well, you would say that, for these reasons, and it's like, oh, dude.
I tell you what, man, I cop a bit of flack on social media for what I do. I guess it's that person in the arena kind of thing. Like, but I leave all the comments there for people to see. And to be honest, I just say, obviously, give me a call and talk about it, or you're a clown, mate.
The legislation now is such that if you are the publisher of the website and you leave a comment up that is defamatory or inflammatory, whatever, then you are considered to be the propagator of that. So you actually have a duty to take it down. And some of them, of course, you don't want them up there. You're like, oh, what's wrong, mate?
Well, it's more people ragging on me, right, than anyone else.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're all right. You leave it.
Mate, I want to come back. I want to talk about how we get to a great product when it comes to media. So, media strategy first, then media planning, and then ultimately media buying. Who is right? Is there a certain kind of brand threshold, revenue threshold? Is it outcomes based? Then we've got this whole thing around demand creation versus demand capture. Are you actually educating people on a problem they didn't know they had, or are you satisfying a problem that they're screaming out for? Where do you start with this? And if I'm sitting here listening to this, thinking about, is this for me? What's the first couple of considerations?
First off, it always sort of starts with who are you to, what's your product, what's your message, and who are you talking to, and why should they listen to you? What's your point of difference? Like, as I said, you might be solving a problem they didn't know they had, or educating them about something new. I mean, if you go right back, right, imagine, say, Apple trying to launch the first smartphone. You know, I don't know what they spent, but they must have spent a lot of money, because it was a big job. You've gone from a phone with buttons to now this thing's a touchscreen phone, but it's also a computer and it does your emails, and like, it was a step up from the BlackBerry, but the BlackBerry was still those mechanical press buttons. This was a touchscreen phone that could do video and data and the whole bit. So to educate people, that's a big job. But if you've got something that is, like a new version of a product going into an existing category, you're not educating people about what it is. You're just saying, well, I have another option for you, and my point of difference is price, or improved technology, or ease of use. We're doing work for some healthcare people that had it was a smartphone, but as you get older, 80 plus, you can't read the phone. There's too many things on it. So they had made a version of this smartphone that, instead of having all the apps on the screen, because really, for people of that age, it's a phone. Like my dad's not going to Google something on his phone. He has a machine, he has a laptop, and he gets that out if he wants to know something. Right? So this phone had 5 big buttons on the front, and it said Peter, Nick, hospital, doctor, So then they could pull it out, because that's who they ring. They ring their kids, they ring the hospital, they ring the ambulance. Dad's had a fall, whatever. So that was their point of difference. It was a phone. It was a smartphone if you wanted it to be, but at the heart of it, it was this device that enabled you to ring the people that you wanted to call without you having to squint, and this is hard, and mess around trying to find things. So that was their point of difference. It was a smartphone, but it was a really easy to use smartphone targeting just that really niche elderly audience who struggles with technology. So it's a
pretty niche product. That's a pretty niche product.
It's not going to be a niche product in about 5 years. The aging population, that product will go off.
Disappear.
Oh, but they won't be able to keep it on the shelves.
I want to come back to the the point of difference thing, right?
Mm.
How do you truly have a point of difference? Because there's a lot of people that maybe you're like, you're a plumber, you know, you do this, you do membership group, you do whatever it is. Like, we're all doing something. Is it possible to everyone have a point of difference, or how do we find that? Because I think this is something that, you know, over the years, we always struggle to be that blue box on the conveyor belt or brown boxes, just standing out. But how do we actually really draw this out? Does it come from who we are, what we do, or?
Yeah, every business, every product, everything is different. You just have to find what yours is. Like, for instance, Swifty Media, our point of difference is agile, boutique, nimble, and you get me. You get the 25, 30 years of experience. Like, you're not going to get someone else. Whereas sort of not that I'm throwing rocks at the bigger firms, but you might get someone who's been there a year. And they don't
well, it's just like a legal firm, you know. You're not working with the principal. You're working with the junior lawyers coming in.
That's right. So that's a point of difference there. I don't know. Using the plumber as an example, maybe their point of difference could be if they turned up on the day at the time that they said they were going to turn up.
I'll turn up.
You know,
I'll turn up. Maybe I'll wear a suit. You know, maybe maybe. No, look, I'm being a.
But everybody has a point of difference, and the tradies that you see advertising, that they emphasise local, so that you know, like, this guy's around the corner. Like, we just had a new lawn put in, and the guy's literally around the corner. So he's driven past a few times and looked at it, and then yesterday he came and mowed it, trimmed it, mowed it, gave it its first mow because he's local. You know. As opposed to if you've got a national firm, they come and put the grass in, and then if you want to talk to him, you've got to ring him, and this bloke, you know, he's not standing there looking at the grass, he's listening to you describe it. Whereas this guy came and looked at it and went, here, you got, then he did a few things, and then blah, blah. You know, that's your point of difference. But
Nick, this is really important, right? Because even though it's a little thing, it's something that we can hang our hat on as part of the values and who we are and the way we drive this business.
That's right.
And if you can nail that, now we can start messaging about it.
That's right. You need to know what is different about your business, or what is different about your product. Is it lightweight? Like when I worked on Samsonite luggage, one of their big things that they said was this suitcase is incredibly light, but also incredibly strong. So they would demonstrate it. They would drop it from planes. I think recently, last year or the year before, they did an ad campaign where they drove over it with a car, you know, to show that it's incredibly light but incredibly strong, and then they would pick it up.
Okay. This is cool, right? Because I just want to now unpack the point of difference between what matters to the customer. Now, I travel a lot. I'm on a plane a lot. So for me, I hate checked bags. Right, so it drives me nuts when I get to an airport, particularly overseas, and I've got to wait an extra hour to get the bag off. Yeah. So for me, being able to ramos, jamos, and pack as much as I can into my carry-on is really important. Yeah. So how do you, from a strategy perspective, first of all, match this kind of piece between, well, what makes you different, but secondly, does anyone care? And then does it solve the customer's problems? Let's go back to chicken and egg on that one if I can.
Well, mostly by the time it arrives, overwhelmingly, when it arrives at the media agency,
yep,
the client's already done that work, so they know, and they'll say, this is what we want to emphasise, that it's light, or that it does this, or it has this interesting bit of tech. They know all that. It's very rare that someone will turn up and go, I don't know, I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. I don't know what to say. Because then that, if that's the thing, then you would refer them to a marketing firm or an advertising strategy firm or someone like that and say, look, I've got this client, they've got this product, but they don't really know what to say about it. They're just excited about it. And then you would go...
Because media's at the tip of the spear of execution now.
Well, that's right. But so you need to know that by the time you get here. I mean, we could help you, but other agencies are different.
They do that better.
Yeah.
Mate, I just want to come to some of the big channels. TV, is it alive, dying? Would you advertise on TV? Funny enough, I was talking to someone the other day that had a, what did they do? They had a product. Okay, so yes, she was a financial planner, and she's looking to help people of maybe my age in their sort of 40s, 50s, help their parents understand what happens with their estate when they pass away, and how to maximize their parents' lifestyle whilst protecting their asset, potentially as legacy. So the first thing I facetiously said was, mate, you should be advertising on the what's it called, the morning show on Channel 10. You know, like,
Breakfast
is that
TV.
where their audience is? Yeah.
What sort are you talking? People 45, 50 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but this is it. Like, but who's the customer? Is it the parents that are worried about what's happening? They're the ones watching TV, and then they talk to their kids and say, "Hey, look, we need to have a discussion about this."
It's both.
So again, it comes back to this stakeholder matrix of who you're talking to and where they are.
Yeah, specifically that product, it's both. But TV is an area weapon. You know, you're engaging the entire footprint. So you can't, like if you use Melbourne as an example, if you're buying TV ad in Melbourne, you're covering Geelong as well, you know, and a bit out into Gippsland. You can't control where that goes once you send it. So if your customers are only in the southeast, or if your customers are this really key niche, television's not for you. But if you watch, like, if you sit and watch the type of ads that are on there, they're for everyone. You know, there's banks, everyone needs a bank. There's cars, everyone needs a car. Phones, food, groceries, fuel, these sorts of things. You know, you won't see an ad on television advertising a service exclusively for Western Melbourne or the Mornington Peninsula. You know, you've got to be smart about it.
It's spray and pray.
Yeah, but at the same time, television is still one of the last ways to reach 1 million people. You look at maths. Maths is just unbelievable, the viewership that it's dragging in.
I thought you're talking about the viewership or the show?
the viewership, the show. I watch the show.
Come on, mate. It's okay if you love it.
No, I watch it and just go, fuck, what's going on here? But people love it. They're into it. It does. I haven't seen the figures, but it's up over 1 million, right? So if you have a well-placed television commercial in that show, either very early on at the top of the show, or you know, right at one of the high engagement points, like if someone's having a meltdown at one of their dinner parties or whatever, you're going to reach 1.5, 2 million people viewers at once. Right? Now, if you do that instantly, you're going to build, you're getting into the metrics of it now, but you're going to build audience reach and frequency really, really quickly. That's why people sponsor the football or things like that. So if you have like an AFL round and it's Thursday night game, Friday night game, Saturday day game, Saturday night game, and a Sunday day game. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe there's 5, 6 televised games across the weekend, and you're sponsoring it, and you put a message in there. That football fan, who in Melbourne is pretty much everyone, they're going to be watching maybe 3 of those 5 matches, so they will see your messaging 6 to 7 times over the weekend, and so then you've reached a large amount of people, but you've also got the frequency of message, so that they'll remember it, and that's what TV does. And TV will never go away. It's morphing and changing now with their BVOD offerings and the catch-up TV apps and all of that, which I think now is 40 odd of television consumption is now through. It's not coming off the mountain. It's not coming off Mount Kootar or whatever it is in Brisbane or Mount Dandenong. It's coming over the internet. So you're really actually watching digital content, which then opens the door for refined targeting. So when they had council by-elections in Melbourne last year, we were seeing ads for councillors, but they were going postcode by postcode. So if you
they can geolocate it to that spot,
but through television, because when you're driving home from work or whatever, you're travelling home from work, people don't say to themselves, "I'm going to watch maths tonight, and I'm going to consume it terrestrially, broadcast."
They just turn the TV on.
But they just turn the fucking TV on, right? And they don't go there considering the source of the signal and all of that. They just want to watch maths. So then they end up watching it over the internet. And so if you have a series of suburbs, Ashburton, Glen Iris, Ashburton, Ashwood, Mount Waverley, like that, each of those postcodes will be seeing different ads. They're watching the exact same show at the same time, but seeing different ads.
Is that more cost effective for someone looking to media buy versus the spray and pray?
Yes. If you've got a conservative budget, the one downside of it now still is you can't click that ad. So, like, if you're
you can call a CT out on the screen like "ring me now," but there is no physical next step where you can press a button and land on the website.
That's right. Foxtel gave it a go a few years ago with their interactive ads. We did a bit of that. But there wasn't the penetration of high-speed Wi-Fi into people's homes at that time to make it effective or efficient. But it was an early example of that. There are some where you're watching and it says for more, press here now for more information. But at the same time, people are watching a show, so they're not going
to leave the show.
Yeah, to go over here to find out more about credit cards. It's particularly if your advertisement is like a low engagement product. People they'll go,
brand awareness.
Yeah, I'll come back to that. But it is efficient. We do a lot of that. We do a bit of broadcast television, mass reach, frequency awareness. But then we also do BVOD, digital television for postcodes. So we're running a campaign in the lead up to Easter for one of our clients, and we're specifically targeting the postcodes on the western side of the Westgate Bridge, Geelong, Ballerine, and the Surf Coast. And Colac. So if you're in that zone, you'll see this ad. But if you're in Glen Waverley, you won't.
The other side is
that's all we're talking to is those people. So,
throw me some numbers, mate. Sorry, just before you throw numbers, and just going back to the outcome or for me, a lot of the successful ad is like identifying attribution. Where was the point that you thought about this? But it's the multi-channel approach as well. So you might see it on TV, but there's no CT action. There's no call to action. There's nothing you can press. But then you're walking through the shops or whatever, and you see it. You see it on a poster, walking through the shops or a billboard, and all of a sudden you're walking through Woolies, and then bang, there it's on the shelf. So it's that
it's
continual
all about your weight,
of getting it.
Your weight of presence in market. So TV, radio, out of home. You've got to be active in a few different areas. You can do it digitally, but even then you've got to be active in a few areas. You have your digital display, you've got to have your search, you've got to have your socials, but then that stuff you can measure it and attribute it. Where did this come from? But even then there's arguments and discussions around that. But what led to this person to click this ad and come through and request this buy this.
In another layman's terms, like when we're looking at a website and you look at your banner ads there, banner ads have got a very low click-through rate, but they're just there, they just pop up, they just imprint your brain just a little bit.
They're probably doing that because you're possibly also running television, radio, out of home, and digital. And that banner ad exists for that person who's like, yeah, actually, fuck it, I'll do that now. And they're, yeah, I saw those guys. Yeah, I've been meaning to do that. I'll click it now. And then away you go. But you've got them because you've reached them through other mediums, possibly through digital as well. But now they're not doing anything. They're like sitting at their desk at lunchtime, or they're messing around on their phone, watching telly or something. And you get them at that point in time where they've got 10 minutes to click on it, find out more, give you your name and email address and phone number, and capture data, consumer data.
Mate, throw some numbers at me. What does a TV ad even cost? I got no idea.
Oh, that's a piece.
You got to do production, you got to edit it, create it.
Nowadays with AI, etc., we work with a company called Rhyme and Reason. They made an AI television commercial. I think it was under 20 grand, 15 grand, something, because there's no talent fees. They had to buy the tech, so this cost has probably actually come down because they had to buy the tech and whatever. But when you watched it, I remember when the guy sent it to me, he said, Nick, none of those people exist. That garden doesn't exist. Those two ladies in the ad don't exist. None of that exists.
You couldn't pick it?
No. And you're like, whoa. So that's, but again, people are getting in trouble now for having AI talent in their ads, because it's like, well, you're not using producers and sound guys and actual actors and all of this. So, it's kind of the thin end of the wedge. I think maybe Coke got in. There's a bit of controversy around them over Christmas for doing it.
Is there an ethics thing here that you shouldn't be using them? Because for me, it just seems like the tractor replacing the horse plough on a paddock.
Yeah. So, well, it's just it's up to you. It's up to the individual. So, but if you want to shoot a beautiful ad, like on film, with lots of actors and stuff, you can spend a fair bit. But I think if you said somewhere around 10, 15, 20 grand shot on video, you can get a pretty good ad. You actually get a pretty good ad for that. Yeah.
Now, what about the ad costs, ad spend?
That's when you got on television.
Yeah, so let me just say, okay, give us a rough range of having an ad on at midnight.
Well, midnight
versus on
midnight's free.
Midnight's free, is it?
No, midnight's
versus what about the morning show? I want to advertise to orderlies.
Well, again, it goes by market size. So it's kind of weird. The TV markets, metro markets, Sydney is the biggest, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth is the next biggest. It's bigger than Adelaide, and then Adelaide is the smallest metro market. So, for instance, if you've got like Today Show on 9, if an ad in Today on 9 in Sydney cost you $5 grand, that ad in Melbourne will cost you $3.5, and in Brisbane
is that $5 grand once for 30 seconds?
Yeah,
30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean you could get it, and again it all depends on how much you're spending. Like Commonwealth Bank, Toyota, Telstra, they're not paying $5 grand, because they're spending 10, 8 to 10, 12, 50. Chemist Warehouse, that they're probably not paying for it at all. They're spending so much money. But if you're just like a normal advertiser, in inverted commas, that's kind of how it works. So, we're doing a deal at the moment, and they're offering us big discounts, but it's based off us committing funds to them and all these other levers that you pull. So really, the way that the television sort of works, there's a number of strategies, but the broadest way of doing it is if you have a television budget, and then you let a specialist like us go and negotiate with the suppliers.
Because you've got the insider's edge on what good value is, what your market is. This is where the strategy in the buying,
like time of year, time of day. What's the balance between your peak night spots versus your off-peak spots, and the optimal mix of your main channel and your tertiary channels. Your 7 mates and your 9 goes and 10 bold, stuff like that. Because there's audience there. There is audience on those other channels, and they are equally as engaged as they are with audience on the main channel. It's just they're choosing to watch, Aussie gold hunters instead of maths.
Well, I love sport, or I love home renovations, or I love that little specific genre is for me. And I guess this is where aligning that stakeholder matrix of why are you different and why do you matter to your audience and do you solve that problem is people like yourself can find where those people are in the landscape and then put your ad in front of them.
Well, that's part of your strategy and planning, is that you go right back to the target audience and you go, right, let's have a look. And so there's data available where you can then say, where does my target audience live? How old are they? How much do they earn? What level of education do they have? All these things. Do they have kids? Sort of car? Blah, 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 blah. And so you can then take a very broad audience and say, right, who you are specifically talking to is women 35 to 54 with a household income greater than 180 grand. They live in Sydney, but these suburbs in Sydney. They live in Melbourne, but these suburbs in Melbourne. They do this, they like this, they don't enjoy this, blah, blah, blah. So then, what if you then put that as a new sort of data set in your research tools? What media are they consuming? And that's when you find out, TV, no TV. And it's...
Mate, I'm going to pick up on that point there, is you may not be ready for TV advertising. Your business might not be at that part of the journey. But if you take anything out of this conversation, you can develop your customer avatar and do exactly what Nick said there. You can literally just go onto the internet and say, download a customer avatar profile and literally fill it out. Literally see how much you understand about your customer. But mate, I want to wrap with, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about, engaging you, what should they be? Is there a certain look? There's probably a revenue threshold. You're probably looking towards the $1 million a year.
No.
What's your guidance?
We work with clients who are spending 10, 20 grand a month, 10 grand a month. It's not for us, because we don't charge fees. There's none of that. And this is a very common sort of media industry standard practice. We Swifty Media are remunerated from the media suppliers, so it's a standard rebate from the media suppliers, right? And it's across everything.
So your job's to fill their spots for them.
No, we work with the clients to get the best results. So it doesn't matter where we invest your funds, we are going to be remunerated by that provider. So then we are not swayed to say, oh, you should definitely do out of home because we're going to make more money on out of home. Or you should definitely do radio because we're going to make more money on radio. We make the same money, doesn't matter where it goes. So that's.
But you need the customer. You need the customer to get results, so they come back and do more ads.
That's right.
That's the most important thing.
So I always have the magic figure in my head is if you're going to cover, say, a metro market like Melbourne, you don't want to spend, and this is to cover all of Melbourne, you don't want to spend less than about 10 grand a month, right? Because then, for want of a better expression, you're pissing in the wind, right? You'll spend your money and you won't get a result and you'll want to know why. but we've done work for a plumbing business that was exclusively the eastern side of Mornington Peninsula and out into Gippsland, and they were spending $5,000 a month, and they were getting great results because they were only targeting that very specific area.
Because they knew what they did, they knew exactly where their customer was,
Yep.
and you were able to help craft that exact message that resonated with the customer.
And then we went to the digital providers, and then the companies that we use to help implement programmatic digital campaigns and social media campaigns are global firms who have relationships with, Meta at the top level and Google at the top level. So then these firms have access to data and audience stats that the normal user like you or I, if we log on to do a social media campaign, we do not have access to these tools, but these guys do. So then they go, right, this is who you're talking to, data refine it. So you and I could be in the same room. I won't see the ad, but you will because of your previous online behaviour.
Yeah.
So
and this is the beauty about the algorithms that supposedly should be giving us the content that is interesting to us. Because, I don't need to see, just female products because I'm not female. But if you put a basketball product in front of me or a sports product, that's what I'm interested in.
This is
and
how it works.
So you can help, your business now can help understand where that positioning should be, and then feed the ad into the right pathway to the right person.
I'll give you an example. I'll bring this up so I can quote it. Look, we're working on something at the moment for a client, and one of the digital targeting filters, or what so many things we're going to use, it'll be Melbourne only, it'll be established families who are composed of inner city professionals who have a predisposition towards making charitable donations. So you geo-target it, Melbourne only, then you demographically target it in that you're a family with children, then employment, so white collar, then that you have in the past made donations to charity.
A behaviour attribute as well.
That's right.
So can we go through them again? Geographic,
demographic, socioeconomic, life stage, behavioural, and you can even do psychographic. So people that agree with the statement, I believe we should do more recycling, or I believe in social progressive ideas, and don't be under any belief that everything you do isn't being tracked and recorded. It's why
watched.
It's why it's why Woolworths have everyday rewards. It's why Flybys exist. It's why Qantas frequent flyers, Virgin exist.
Yeah.
They harness all that. All your banks are selling all this data. So how do they know that you make charity donations? Because your bank is selling your data to research firms. They can get to the point where car companies know to begin selling you a new car because you've just paid off your old car loan. Right? So they now know, well, you bought a new car 4 years ago. 3 months ago, you just finished paying off your car loan.
Let's drop an ad in front of you.
Let's put an ad in front of you. How do we know that? Right? Because you've done this, but you can target people who buy cigarettes. You can target people who've just had a baby because nappies are coming up on their shopping list. You can target all these things. It's all ethical. It's all legit. I mean, it sounds a bit weird when you say it like that, but the other way to view it is you're getting messaging that's tailored to you. It's useful to you.
And I guess that's the point that I want to wrap on there. We somehow feel this is rather, we can take one approach and this is rather invasive, or getting into my privacy and all that kind of stuff. However, the maturity of the system now is, obviously it's trying to sell you something. That's what advertising does. But it is trying to put your product, the things you're interested in front of you, And that's where people like Swifty Media are really important, because you want to understand what the customer's product is, and you want to definitively put that in front of the right person that's going to consume it.
That's right. And you refine.
Well, mate, thanks for jumping on. Sorry, after you, mate. Say that again.
No, and
just wrap up.
Once you start, then you refine and refine and refine as you go. So every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you then go, right, this is what we were doing. This is where the customers were coming from. So we now know, well, we can cut these postcodes, or we can stop targeting it, and you get it right down to a very tight target.
I'm glad you threw that extra bit in, because one of my biggest lessons in life is data-driven decisions on marketing. And if you don't have data on this, then you're behind the 8 ball, because for me, the essence of good data should answer one question. Is what I'm doing working? Yes or no? And if it is, let me double down and put more into it. If it's not working, please show me so I can test and adjust. And I think this is really important for people to do when they're going to a marketing firm, they're going to a marketing agency, is to understand where that data comes from and what the cycle of adjustment is going to be. So, mate, I love doing these pods because very selfishly, it's like doing a Business 101 course every time I speak with somebody like you. So, mate, if people are out there listening right now, I want to pick up the example of the plumber. The plumber knew who his customer was, knew exactly what they were trying to achieve and the problem that they solved, and they had a very successful ad campaign on television. So if you're out there listening, you think, oh, look, mate, television's not for me. Media, newspapers, radio, it's probably worth just to give someone like Nick a bit of a buzz and just get it from the horse's mouth and understand from an industry expert who's been in this game their whole life about what the right tactic could be.
100%.
Brilliant. Rightio, mate. Well, thanks for jumping on and having a yarn today. I do really appreciate your time. Excellent.
Well spent.
Right, so everyone can get in touch with Nick. We'll obviously put all of the details into the show notes down below, but it's nice and simple, swiftymedia.com.au. Make sure you jump on and say good day. Rightio, that'll do. Let's call it a wrap there.
Thanks, Peter.
Great chatting to Nick Swift today. Again, I love that connection and that sense of pride and purpose within, the military. And one of the great things about, again, the reservist cohort within the veteran business community is because someone unlike me, who was a farmer who joined the army and wasn't very good at anything until I started business, we've got industry experts who have spent their lifetimes in these careers, but they serve in the military as well. So we get the best of both worlds here. So let's call it a wrap there. Thanks to Nick Swift from Swifty Media today. That's it. My name's Pete Liston, and out.